Independent retail business can mean so many things these days. A brick and mortar store, an e-commerce business, a maker's online shop, a booth at an antique mall, and more. No matter which category you're in, Kathy Cruz, a fellow retail business owner and retail educator, will teach you how to market and manage your business efficiently so you can spend time doing other things you love. Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Podcast.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast, Financial Foundations for Brick and Mortar Store Owners. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. My intention for this episode is to share why it's so valuable to have some foundational financial knowledge and skills when you open and own a brick and mortar retail business. First, of course, I want to start off with a shopkeeper, and this one has me super excited. It was titled, Guys Listen To. And I just want to say that Rusty and Drew gave me a 5-star review, and I appreciate it. They said, "Hey, Kathy, what a great podcast. Us guys listen to. My husband and I own a unique concept, a full gift shop inside our neighborhood bar and bottle shop. It's the ultimate sip and shop. We have been listening to your podcast for a few months now. We find your insights very valuable. You seem to dive in deeper to the business side of things. Most podcasts talk about just one side of the business, which is generating sales. While important, there are many other hats owners must wear and details to know. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thanks, Rusty and Drew." I'll be sure to link their shop in the show notes. It's called The Green Monkey, and we'll have their website link, so make sure you visit them and give them some love. But Rusty and Drew, I just want to say thank you so much. This 5-star review meant a lot to me, and I want to mention why. When I first started Savvy Shopkeeper, I was focused on helping women shopkeepers. I didn't intentionally do this to be exclusive at all, I guess. I did this because I saw many shopkeepers were women, and I was a woman, and I genuinely just wanted to be helpful to them. But something about serving women only wasn't sitting well with me. As a minority, as a Latina, as a woman, I'm a big proponent of inclusivity and equality. I started seeing how many men, husbands, significant others wanted to be a part of our community. And so in 2019, I opened it up to serving all types of shopkeepers. And this feels so much more in tune with my values. So seeing your review, it brought a smile to my face, and I was so excited to read it. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm glad you're learning from it. So Rusty, Drew, and all the other dudes listening, I'm thrilled you're here. I'm thrilled you're listening to the podcast and that you appreciate the information I share. With so many social issues, particularly racism, that's front and center right now, I want listeners to know that all are welcome here. I don't care what your gender is, what your skin color is, what your religion is. This is a space for all shopkeepers. Okay, let's get started on episode 31. As a child, I was poor. We grew up poor, and I mean really poor, on welfare, below poverty level, single mom, 3 kids. And I remember I wanted a cash register so badly. And then as I got older, I wanted an adding machine. But it was the kind of adding machine with a roll of paper so that I could play store owner. And it's amazing to me as I look back now, how much I knew at such a young age that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I'm sure other kids can say that they wanted the cash register, but it was like something in me that knew I wanted to be my own boss, even as I got older. So fast forward to college, and I actually got a degree in business and marketing. But then I took a bit of a different path and chose a different career for around 20 years, and then went back to my business roots, maybe 8 years ago, when I was dabbling in the blog with my sister, and we were working out of our homes, and it eventually became the brick and mortar store that we own now. But 20 years was a big gap in time from taking business classes and getting my business degree to the point where I started an actual business. And although I retained a little bit of that information, I certainly didn't retain all of it. So when I started the salvage boutique with my sister, I knew I needed to do a few things. Like, I knew I needed to separate my personal finances from business finances. I did that. I knew I needed to start bookkeeping early so I could analyze our business finances, although I didn't know how to do that at the time. I guess I basically knew the basics. I knew what that looked like and I had no idea, but I signed up for a bookkeeping account in Wave. And I'll link that in the show notes. It's waveapps.com. I kind of knew I needed to get detailed with expense accounts and bookkeeping. And you know what I mean, an account for office supplies, an account for travel, an account for training and education, an account for website expenses. If you do your own bookkeeping or if you have a bookkeeper do this for you, you'll see a list of these expense accounts on your profit and loss statement. And what happens is when there's an expense that you pay for, you categorize that expense so that when you run your profit and loss statement, you can see how much you're spending in a year or in a given period on that particular category. But that's just about where my knowledge stopped. And then I realized I had no idea what to do with that information in my bookkeeping software. I didn't know if I was categorizing things correctly. I had no idea how to read a profit and loss statement. And I certainly didn't know if I was doing things correctly or even if I was hitting retail benchmarks. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even realize there were benchmarks to strive for in retail. And part of the reason why is because this wasn't covered in school, or from what I remember. I don't remember that. And if you're like me and my sister and just took a leap of faith without a mentor or an advisor, you just get stuff done and move forward because you have a dream, you have a passion, you want to open a store. And that's how shopkeepers work. We're worker bees normally. We're so passionate about what we do, we don't hesitate to do the manual and physical work. I often hear so many shopkeepers say, I don't really know what I'm doing. I didn't go to business school. I just knew I wanted my store and I opened it. Well, I went to business school, and even though I had retained a little of that knowledge, I certainly was lacking in many other areas of my business. And man, did it show. So I think a year into opening the brick and mortar business, I really dove into educating myself, and I still educate myself. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly learning how to improve my brick and mortar business. I feel it was years after we started that I learned about a really important metric and benchmark for retail brick and mortar business owners. I talk about this one often, and it's your rent to sales ratio. Ideally, and some people will argue this with me, but ideally, I feel it should be 6 to 10% of your gross revenue. And most, if you find anything online, most articles will suggest the same thing. I remember I calculated ours and felt accomplished because ours was around 8%. I think this was, the first time I ever calculated it. I actually think it's lower now. But I can honestly say that it was a combination of luck along with my sister and I being really frugal that got us to that percentage. Not because I knew that the 6 to 10% was a benchmark for retail businesses. And it's somewhere that you should be in order to have a healthy and profitable retail business. The new sponsor for this podcast is the Shopkeepers Academy. Tell me if you can relate to this as a shopkeeper. You crave sisterhood from other retail shop owners going through the same thing. You desperately search online for tools or education that will help you get ahead as a business owner, but Google is exhausting because you're busy running a business. And when you do find resources online, it isn't tailored to your type of business, an independent retail store. You need the guidance of lessons and information that empower you to keep your business afloat, or better yet, thriving in this stressful world. That's where the Shopkeepers Academy comes in. The Shopkeepers Academy is an online platform that was built specifically for independent retail business owners. It's a one-stop shop to sign up for education and community. Whether you want to grab an affordable ebook like a 9-page shipping guide, or get access to a comprehensive list of lessons by subscribing to the Shopkeepers Learning Lab, Or if you want to join Master Shopkeepers, and that's a paid mastermind group of brick and mortar store owners, you'll know that every option in the Academy was designed for you, the independent retail business owner. I want to help all brick and mortar retailers work less and profit more. Is this what you want too? Visit shopkeepersacademy.com for more information. Now, some shopkeepers, particularly like let's say in California, where the cost of living is so high, they might struggle to hit that 6 to 10%. And I understand that. But I just want to make sure that I mention it so that you understand that's what you should be spending on your rent in order for you to be in a healthy place in your business. I also remember when I first started having financial conversations with my friend Sarah Nemechek of WE Profit Foundry. And I'll link her business in the show notes. But I learned I had some things categorized incorrectly in my chart of accounts and my bookkeeping software. So when I proudly boasted that our profit margin for the store I own with my sister was 58%, and 58% profit margin in a retail business is pretty darn good, I thought we were nailing it. I thought we were doing what most retailers can't do, because a lot of retailers are between 45 and 50%. But I was wrong. So once I made the corrections based on the conversations I had with Sarah, our real profit margin was probably more like 49%. What a bummer. I'll be honest, this was disappointing to me. But knowledge is power. One thing my sister and I did get right along the way was mastering our expenses, keeping them low enough, along with focusing on increasing profit margins. This is another skill to learn, so that we could profit from day one and pay ourselves. Now, there's strategy and planning when I look at my numbers, which is different than how it was when I first started and I was looking at our numbers, but I didn't know what to do with them. Because I am a shopkeeper and I have so many conversations with fellow shopkeepers, I get a firsthand look at where they need help the most. In Master Shopkeepers, and that's our mastermind group for brick and mortar store owners, I fill this need with education and information by either teaching master classes myself or I bring experts in to teach. With over 20 master classes in Master Shopkeepers, I learned that two of the most popular classes were financial related. The first one was learning how to read a profit and loss statement, and that class was taught by Sarah. And then the second one is learning how to truly keep an eye on your expenses and cut expenses, and all of the ways a retail business owner can do that. And that class was taught by me. Brick and mortar store owners are experiencing some of the most challenging times right now, and one thing I've seen is that there are so many of us who not only want to survive, and we are, but we want to thrive in the future, even with these crazy times. And so many shopkeepers have identified that business knowledge and being savvy CEOs is necessary. If we want to grow, if we want to profit, and definitely if we want to pay ourselves. And I can't agree more. This is so important. So Sarah and I are collaborating to bring you a 2-hour online workshop. It's packed with the foundational financial information you've always wanted to learn, but maybe you were afraid or just didn't know where to find it. I realize that the information we're teaching in Master Shopkeepers is extremely valuable. It's transforming some of the shopkeepers in the group, and I love seeing that. So we want to bring some of these most important lessons to all of you. So even if you're not part of Master Shopkeepers, I want to be able to teach this really important information, and so does Sarah. So we have an online workshop scheduled. It's Monday, July 6, 2020 at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This live and online workshop consists of 3 lessons with a Q&A at the end. It includes a digital workbook that you can download and print. The cost of the workshop is $79. Now, I will say that class size is limited, and if you're listening to this podcast episode, you're getting the first opportunity to sign up. So visit savvyshopkeeper.com/financial foundations to grab a seat and join us on July 6th. And if you're listening to this after this episode airs and the workshop is offered, make sure you check out the Shopkeepers Academy to see if there are any other ways to access this workshop, because that could change in the future. We're saying it's a one-time workshop, but if people find it valuable and it really helps transform them, we may offer it again in the future. And the place that you'll find that is in shopkeepersacademy.com. So make sure you check that out, even if you listen to this episode after July 6, 2020. So if you have any questions about this workshop, you can always DM me on Instagram. My username on Instagram is @SavvyShopkeeper, or you can send me an email using the contact form on my website. If you want to see the show notes to this episode, because I mentioned quite a few things, you can find the show notes at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 31. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 31. And if you would take a minute to leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, I would really, really appreciate it. I would love to give you a shout out too, all at the same time. So until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.